Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys a partial balayage retouch. So this is my client's hair before. She's come to me quite a few times for her balayage, and today we're just refreshing it. So I'm referring to this look as a partial because we're not doing her entire head. As you can see, I braided out the bottom portions of her hair just because we're going to keep that to add in some dimension. Now, if she wanted to go drastically lighter or change up her look, then we would put all of her hair in the foils, but today we don't need to do that. So this first section is about a ½ inch thick. I'm just taking a medium-sized weave and then I'm going back and teasing it. I know that baby lights are really trendy right now, and I use them for some scenarios, but in this case I felt like I didn't want to do that because I wanted my client to have a big pop of color. And to me, sometimes baby lights are so fine that they can get lost in the color. And by teasing the hair, you eliminate the possibility of demarcation lines, so it just makes the hair turn out really nice and blended. So for balayage, I like to apply the lightener in a V shape, and that also helps it have a nice blend. Each section that I'm taking is diagonal back, and what that does is it eliminates the possibility of having that line of demarcation across the back of the client's head. The reason I'm weaving every section is because we want a natural look. By the way, I'm using Loreal Platinum Lightening Paste with 25 volume. So since I'm doing balayage on this piece, I'm not folding up the foil, I'm just kind of gently folding in the corners to keep it out of the way. Sometimes when you try to fold foils while doing balayage, it can create these weird lines. So again, I'm just repeating this on this next section, teasing with a medium weave, and then applying my balayage with foils. So I'm just painting my V, careful to use light strokes when you do this technique because you want it to have a nice blend. And then once you get towards the tips of the hair, the very ends, then you can saturate a little heavier. I'm also making sure not to blend that middle of the V super high, because if you do that all around the head, it ends up looking like a high ombre rather than a balayage. When you're doing your balayage panels, you always want to see the actual V shape, if that makes sense. On the sides it goes a little bit higher up, and in the center you have a little bit more of a dark spot, which you'll see in some other clips of the video. So I am kind of varying between thinner and thicker sections, and what that does is it, again, adds a little bit of dimension, and also because I'm not so focused on super tiny highlights right now, I'm just doing kind of a chunkier weave so I can get more pop of color. So the closer I get to the top, I'm less focused on creating that V shape, only because the sections become more narrow. And it's kind of difficult to make like a mini V on that tiny little section, so I still just tease and weave, and then I just sweep it up and blend it. Balayage is all about blend. The objective when doing this is to have a little bit of natural root with a seamless blend of blonde to the tips. It shouldn't look like someone that needs their roots done. This look is also very low maintenance. So I'm still taking that section and kind of skimming off the top, teasing, and then placing my foil, starting at the bottom and kind of sweeping my way up. And again, I'm not highlighting every piece of hair on her head because we're only doing a partial, just touching up what was there before. So I do like to do a little bit of baby lighting in front of my client's face just to frame her face with some nice bright highlights. So what I'm doing here is taking really fine microweave, and then I'll be placing that into a foil. And I do like to weave this section on that first piece and not slice it right away, because I found that if you start out right away with slicing, it can easily create a harsh line. So I'm just doing the exact same thing on the side here. Whenever I do traditional foiling, I like to take that little flap at the bottom and just shove it a little bit closer to the scalp, and that prevents me from having bleeders or cheetah spots. So now that that first weave is out of the way, I'm taking a slice, and what that's going to do is allow for maximum coverage, and that'll give her a nice bright pop in front of her face. I didn't do this first, again, just because I didn't want to have that solid right against her hairline. When you're highlighting in front of your client's face, you always want to take very thin sections, and that's because you don't want the first thing they see to be big chunky highlights, and it also doesn't grow out very nicely. So I ended up going 3 foils high on each of those sections I took around her whole hairline on both sides. And that first foil is always a weave, and the next 2 I did are slices. So after the face framing, I'm just doing that exact same technique that you saw me do in the back, and I'm completing that throughout her entire head. Also, now that I'm at the top of her head, I've increased my lightener to 30 volume. So once all the foils are in, I like to put a plastic cap at the top of her head just to trap any heat that could escape during the lightening process. Because her natural hair is so dark, I'm going to let this process for about 20 to 25 minutes. So after I rinsed out her foils, I toned her with L'Oreal Dia Richesse half 9NB and half 8NV with 9 volume. After shampooing her toner out, I'm just giving her a quick little trim. I always recommend at least a trim or a deep conditioning treatment with any color service. Now that her cut and color are complete, it's time for the blow dry and style. And here are the finished results. Beautiful, dimensional caramel macchiato balayage. And that concludes the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching.